Good morning, everyone. Once again, this is your boy Maki Boy Mark Kenneth M. Hoxon, and we are here to present to you about the Swiss cheese model. But first, what is a Swiss cheese model? Let me give you a background about the Swiss cheese model. So, Swiss cheese model, according to my research, is a model used in risk analysis and risk management. It includes aviation safety, engineering, healthcare, emergency service organizations, and many more. So, it is used in computer security and defense in depth. So, a Swiss cheese model is an organization's defense against failure, which is modeled as a series of barriers represented as slices of cheese. So, the holes in the cheese or the holes in the slices represents weaknesses in individual parts of the system and are continually varying in size and position across the slices. So the system produces failures when a hole in each slice momentarily aligns. So ano yung sinasabi dito sa Swiss cheese model na to? Nakakita na ba kayo ng Swiss cheese? So, di ba kung yung sa Swiss cheese, kapag hinati mo siya into slices, makikita tayo ng mga holes or ng mga eyes sa bawat slices na to. So yung sinasabi dito, sa bawat holes na ito yung magsisilbing weaknesses ng individual parts ng system. So dito sa Swiss cheese model na to, nirepresent dito yung apat na layers ng slices ng cheese, which are the organizational layer, the supervision and training layer, the layer of unsafe precondition, and yung layer of unsafe acting. But those layer will be discussed by my other groupmates. Pero bibigyan ko lang kayo ng background about dito sa Swiss cheese model used in aviation. So, saan ba galing tong model na to na Swiss cheese? So, the model is based on the research from Dante Orlandella and James T. Reason of the University of Manchester. It is also known as cumulative Ack effect, where the basic idea behind is that in a system of organization, single lapses will not destroy the whole. So ano itong cumulative Ack effect at sa itong single lapses? So, yung na-research ko kanina about cumulative Ack effect is ito yung parang paulit-ulit na pangyayari or so, ano itong cumulative Ack effect na to? So, according to my research about the meaning of cumulative, so, it is the increasing by successive addition or made up of accumulative parts. So, also, it is taking effect upon completion of another panel sentence or increasing in severity with repetition of the offense. So, ano yung sinasabi dito sa cumulative Ack effect na to? So, ito yung parang paulit-ulit na actions na ginagawa or kumbaga ito yung paulit-ulit na pagkakamali na nagagawa ng isang management or ng isang corporation. So because of this actions na pagkakamali, nagkakaroon tayo ng kumbaga sa cheese, nadadagdagan ang holes ng cheese. So simula dun sa, for example, maliit na butas sa Swiss cheese. Sa maliit na yon, sa kokonting holes na meron yung slice na yon, sa bawat paulit-ulit na pagkakamali, nagkakaroon ng additional na holes dun sa Swiss cheese model. At kapag itong mga holes na to ay nag-align, ibig sabihin, there's a tendency or there's a risk na magkaroon tayo ng injury or accident because of that trajectory. Kasi because of that repetition na pagkakamali, lumalaki yung risk na magkakaroon tayo ng injury. So, to discuss further about the Swiss cheese model, here are my other groupmates to discuss it to you.
Swiss cheese model in aviation. These slices unfortunately are not perfect. They have holes or imperfections which allow for penetration. So, as we all know, nothing is perfect, and that the Swiss cheese model in aviation is developed to prevent or to lessen furthermore damages within the company or organization. So, for example, is that this is the first department within the organization, and this is the second department within the organization. So, as we can see, they both have their own lapses, but they differ from one another. So the lapses within the first organization would not be, the problem within the first department rather, would not be a problem in the second department because they have their own problems. So when the problem from the first department goes through, the second department would be here to help the first department overcome the problem. So the Swiss cheese in general helps prevent or lessen the active or latent errors. Each slide forms a different layer in our system. Generally, these layers are: first, the organizational layer; second, supervision or training layer; third, layer of precondition; fourth, the layer of unsafe acting, which would be furthermore discussed by the next reporter.
Hello sir, hello classmates. I am discussing the layers of Swiss cheese model about the layer of unsafe precondition and layer of unsafe acting. Layer of unsafe precondition. Now we came down to the current slide. Stress, fatigue, lack of concentration. Nobody can be at the best performance level all the time. Maybe we should ask ourselves, do I really need to fly today, or how safe I am? You can easily check yourself with this little guidance. Dito sa unsafe precondition, syempre lagi lang natin dapat i-check yung sarili natin kung nasa condition tayo. Kasi kung kunyari, for example, yung ikaw na-stress ka na, may over-fatigue yung katawan mo lang, syempre mawawala yung concentration mo sa ginagawa mo. Kaya lalo na yung mga piloto. Kaya dapat lagi nila i-check yung sarili nila para maiwasan yung aksidente, para na rin sa safety ng mga tao sa aircraft and safety ng aircraft. And then the layer of unsafe acting, all before mentioned layers, slices are latent conditions. This means that there are more or less subconsciously existing unrelated condition. Latent condition, ito yung mga hindi natin, mga biglang aksidente na pwedeng mangyari na hindi natin alam na bigla na lang mangyayari. Tulad na lamang ng kunyari, sa workplace mo, may balat ng saging, tapos nadulas ka, kasi hindi mo nakita eh. Tapos, syempre pag nadulas mo, yun yung nabangga mo yung mga ibang bagay na pwedeng matumba o masira, ay magkakaroon ng aksidente talaga. Ang active condition naman, ito yung mga sinasadya na mga aksidente. Tulad na lamang ng, kunyari, yung co-workmate mo, nakikita mo, mali yung ginagawa niya, na sinasadya niya, syempre dapat pagsabihan mo lang para maitama yung ginagawa niya. The last layer is an active one. An active condition that is hopefully obvious, the handling of the error or failure itself. Ito na nga yung active condition. Maybe it is a wrongly handled, rough running engine or a bad action applied by the pilot, like flying into adverse weather. Ito yung isang example. Yung a bad action applied by the pilot, like flying into adverse weather. Hindi pong yung piloto, nasa flight kayo, sa flight nyo, pero nakita niya yung weather is masama, tinuloy niya pa rin. Yun yung bad action ng pilot doon. There are uncertain, dangerous attitudes that might impose a great risk. Siyempre sir, yung multiple layers of Swiss cheese model, siyempre sir, pag may proper process, safety protocols tayo sa workplace natin, tsaka pag mayroon tayong mga training at saka understanding sa mga pwedeng masamang mangyari at mga pwedeng makasira ng designing system, syempre magiging higher yung safety natin kasi alam natin yung mga gagawin natin at at iiwasan na bagay para iwasan yung aksidente. And other holes may be plugged. Ito yung sa Swiss cheese model, yung mga ibang holes doon pwedeng maiwasan and maiwasan yon at makakapag-build tayo ng culture that promotes people safe actions. Yun lang. Thank you.
Organizational layer. Flying Club or the airline itself applies cost-cutting strategies in order to save money and lower the operating costs of the fleet. Some strategies might infringe or at least negatively influence aviational safety. So there are instances or scenarios wherein the airline cut or reduces the cost by limiting the materials that are vital in the aircraft operation. For example, using other part number or other materials as a substitute for the original material that is installed in the aircraft. So in that way, it reduces the cost of the airline to maintain the aircraft. So with that, it negatively influenced aviational safety. So it posed a danger to the aircraft when it is already working or in operation. Supervision or training layer. Indeed a very important layer in flying. Superior training is key to safe operation of aircraft. Have you ever been in a hurry during your initial training sometimes? Are you sure that your training was sufficient? So here in the supervision training layer, there are instances or scenarios where the student pilot or the flight instructor forget or ignore certain procedures. Obviously, there are certain procedures that are needed to follow in order to have a safe operation of the aircraft. Any problems or insufficiency in the training will lead to problems in the future. Therefore, sufficient training is needed in order to ensure safety and reliability in operating the aircraft.
Good day everyone, I'm Ramos Chester and I will be your last presenter today. So, I hope you learned something from the previous presenters about the topic Swiss cheese model in the aviation industry. But if not, don't worry guys because I am here to conduct a recap and review about that topic. So, let's start. The Swiss cheese model in aviation. This model has two proponents. They are Dante Orlandella and James T. Rizan. So they are from the University of Manchester. And Swiss cheese model is also known as cumulative effect. So the main idea here is that in an organization, single lapses will not destroy everything or the whole. All right. So in this model, it uses a cheese wherein cheese are equally sliced, but unfortunately, they are not perfect. So they have what do you call this? Holes, different holes in every slices. So that's their imperfections. So what are those imperfections? Each sliced cheese, has its own layers. There are 4 layers. The first one is the organizational layer. Second one is the supervision or training layer. The third one is layer of unsafe or precondition. The fourth one or the last one is the layer of unsafe acting. So let's start with the organizational layer. So here, the main idea in organizational layer, for example, in aviation, you're the manager of the airlines and you will do everything or different strategies of cost cutting to minimize or lessen the the expenses of the airlines. And those strategies, because of tinatawag natin pagtitipid, nagkakaroon ng unsafe condition, nasa-sacrifice yung safety ng aviation, wherein yung safety is the number one priority in the aviation. So, let's move on to the second layer, which is the supervision or training layer. We all know that in aviation, supervision and training is very important. For example, the head of the maintenance engineering, supervision must be conducted from time to time to ensure that our mechanics are doing highest standard possible that is required in aviation, and of course training before hiring, or even if you are already a mechanic of that organization or in that airline, you should be trained for that specific job to ensure the safety in aviation or in the maintenance. Alright, so for the third layer, it is the layer of unsafe and precondition. So in here, ask yourself, do I really need to for example, a pilot, do I really need to fly today, or how safe am I? So the what do you call this? The safety is in your hands. All right. So if you are having a bad day and you're given a job or task, and if you can do it, so please step back and give that job into into your co-workers that can do that job in the highest standard form, or in an appropriate action, because you know to yourself that you're not able to do it in a appropriate manner. Okay, so let's move on to the fourth and last layer of cheese, which is the layer of unsafe acting. So from the word itself, unsafe acting, so meaning risky action of the mechanic. So for example, I am the mechanic and I'll be doing and conducting a pre-flight inspection in a Cessna 152 aircraft. So after I completely conduct the inspection, but because I am irresponsible and doing a substandard things mechanic, I did not remove the pitot tube cover. So what will happen to the airspeed indicator of the aircraft? So inaccurate indication of airspeed. So that action, that unsafe acting of mine, may lead to an accident of the pilot or the passenger, or even the aircraft. All right. So this model, the Swiss cheese model, is implemented in the aviation industry to avoid those kind of behaviors. The organizational layer, supervision and training layer, the layer of unsafe precondition, and the most important is the layer of unsafe acting. So that will be all. I hope you learned something from me, and I hope you understand the topic of Swiss cheese model better now. So thank you so much, and that is all. Thank you.